My 22 stepdad, 49, publicly humiliated my mum, and I know how to move on. The other day, I went to sober cam my mum and her husband at the bar. Everything was fine when I got there. In fact, he and I were joking around and laughing with each other. Then over conversations about my weekend, my mum divulged some information that she heard regarding a situation I was in with my step, and not the way you're thinking pervs lol. It was a brief conversation, and I texted my stepbrother to update him on the situation. Then out of nowhere my stepdad exploded in a restaurant with customers all around us. He yelled, "Jesus Christ, you guys are like the Kardashians with all of this fucking drama. It's ridiculous." Keep in mind my mum and I had a 2-minute discussion that wasn't even deep whatsoever. He continued to scream at my mum and I, taking digs at my biological brother in attempt to offend my mum. He continued. We sat silently. My mum tried to tell him to lower his voice because the restaurant had fallen silent at that point and everyone was staring at us. He then screamed, "I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. I don't give a fuck. You guys are stupid. This is ridiculous." He repeated that loudly a couple of times as I still sat silent. Minutes have gone by at this point of him yelling. Over the course of the last couple of years his anger has been growing and growing, and he often snaps and lashes out now, resorting to name calling frequently, but usually about politics. It has now spread to all sectors of his conversations when something manages to set him off. So I finally turned to my mum and asked her if she wanted to leave because I was humiliated and couldn't stand sitting next to him for any longer. My mum refused. She is used to this behavior. He acts like this toward her 24/7 now. But this time I noticed it spread to me as well, so I asked her again and said, "Please." She refused. He heard me ask, and then screamed even louder, "If you want to leave, get the fuck out. Leave. No one is keeping you here." And I looked at him in the eyes and said, "I'm trying to." I couldn't leave my mum there, and to be honest, I felt terrible for her because he's been treating her horribly. Keep in mind, at this point, it's uncomfortably silent in the room. Our server is awkwardly behind the bar pretending to be busy, and the couple seated alongside us keeps looking up in concern. I've never been so humiliated in my life. I feel utterly disrespected and like I will never see him the same again. My heart aches for my mum because he eventually shoved his plate away loudly and bolted out the door. I told her that what he just did was abusive, and she was extremely dismissive. My biological father was verbally abusive to my mum, and I think she struggles with understanding that it's not normal. In the car, she expressed to me that she was worried he wouldn't want to be with her anymore, after he continually disrespects and yells at her time after time. She's worried that he doesn't find her attractive anymore. That broke me, but she continued to tell me that what he did wasn't out of the blue and could have been worse. I started doubting how horrible the experience was myself and can see how she is gaslighted into believing that was an appropriate response. So, at this point, I have no idea how to proceed. He has expressed no remorse and thinks his response was justified. He was buzzed at the time, so perhaps his memory of the events isn't perfect. I just feel like I can't forgive this for a multitude of reasons. He's gotten increasingly angry in his consistent outbursts, and I genuinely fear something is mentally wrong with him. I like to see my mum, and she doesn't do anything without him, so ignoring him is out of the question. How do I proceed with some kind of normalcy after this, knowing I won't receive an apology or change of behavior? To my step, how do I move on knowing he won't change? I had similar issues with my mum and previous boyfriends. After years of her siding with guys who were emotionally abusive to both her and me, I eventually told her she had to choose, either break up with the guy or I would estrange myself from her. She broke up with him and things got better after that. Not saying you should do something so extreme, but continuing to accept this guy's behavior will not improve the situation. Your mother is a fully grown adult, and you can't help her if she doesn't want to be helped. All you can really do is say you'll be there for her when she decides to leave, and you'll only see her without him from now on, if she brings him anyway. You just leave. Has he always been like this? If it's new, he was either hiding it well or he has some sort of physical issue like a brain tumor or chemical imbalance. My dad had and has been verbally abusive towards my mum. I stood up to him and called him out on his ridiculous behavior. I believe you're a ridiculous one. Throwing a temper like a goddamn child without reason, which is why everyone is staring at you. If you can't calmly express yourself, leave the restaurant to prevent further embarrassment to yourself. We'll find our own way home. Be cautious though, as I'm not sure if your stepfather is being physically abusive too. Regardless, your mum needs therapy to see that this isn't normal male behavior. This is what makes my blood boil.